please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Welcome to our Monday, October 17th school board meeting. I just want to say the board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on corporation matters. If you wish to address the board this evening, there will be two opportunities. One will be in a few minutes where we will vote on action items, and we ask that your comments pertain to only those action items. There then will be an opportunity for you to address the board at the end of our meeting during the public comment section. Only those that have signed up with all the requested information on the sign-up sheet will be called up. So with that, we'll move right on to our agenda approval, deletions, additions. Dr. Varacco.
Thank you, Mrs. Seuss. We do have an agenda before you, and there are some adjustments to Roman numeral 7D1. That is Mrs. Castaneda's professional leave requests. Those additional requests are at your workstations.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Motion by Dr. Malco.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there any correspondence this evening, Mrs. Kelly?
Nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. We are going to skip our liaison committee updates, and we'll move right into our official school board business topics consent agenda. Dr. Varacco.
Thank you again. Seek board approval for the minutes from our executive session on September 19th. Also seek approval of the minutes from our regular board meeting on September 19th, and approval of all claims, payroll, and extracurricular expenditures that you received in your packets last week.
I move to approve the minutes and the claims, payroll, and extracurricular expenditures.
We have a motion by Dr. Medlin and a second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. There are no public comments regarding action items, so we'll move right into our official school board business topics regular agenda. Dr. Varacco.
Okay, our first item is to recognize some outstanding academics from the high school, and Mr. Stanish from the high school administration is here to talk us through that celebration. Joe?
All right, thank you, school board. I'm here to present these three students that qualified as National Merit semifinalists by scoring in the top half of 1% of all juniors nationally who took the PSAT NMS QT. Lake Central is extremely proud of these individuals who have earned that national recognition, and we wish them well as they move forward into the National Merit Scholarship Program. They are Kevin Araha, Maria Gorgievsky, and Braden Whitney. Congratulations to all of our students. Thank you, guys.
Next up, we have Mr. DeLauder from Pfeiffer Elementary. He's going to talk to us about an outstanding award the corporation received for supporting Riley's Children's Hospital.
Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening, members of the board and esteemed colleagues up at Central Office here. On behalf of the Indiana Association of School Principals and Riley Hospital, I have some really heartwarming news for us this evening regarding all of our Lake Central schools. Each year, the IASP organization asks all of Indiana schools to join with them in combined fundraising forces to raise a minimum of $1 per student to help with children that are getting help from Riley Hospital. And in raising $1 per student, each school can earn a distinction of being a Red Wagon school. And if each school within a corporation earns that status, then the school corporation itself becomes a Red Wagon corporation. And I don't know if you're familiar with Riley Hospital at all, the symbol that's on license plates and things like that. The Red Wagon is very prominent as a symbol at Riley Hospital because those take the place of gurneys for pediatric patients, and they have wagons that they pull through the hallways and have the IV poles on the back of them, and it's just heartwarming and heartbreaking all at the same time. And for the 2021-2022 school year, there were only 8 Red Wagon corporations throughout the entire state. There were 4 in the northern region and 4 in the central region. I didn't say anything in the southern region for a purpose, and I'm not going to knock anybody down in south. But I want to let you know that Lake Central alone stands in Lake and all of our surrounding counties as a Red Wagon corporation for the state. So Dr. Baracco, if you'd like to come down and accept this on behalf of Indiana Association of School Principals and Riley Hospital and Kids Caring and Sharing, you can hang this prominently in central office here.
And I will add for the record, this will be our 6th plaque on the wall, so thank you, Lake Central.
And I do want to add a couple other statistics. I know Lake County sometimes gets a bad rap for things, but based on 2020-2021 data numbers, Lake County unique visits, which means that every time a patient goes to Riley Hospital, it doesn't matter how many times they go afterwards, but they count them as a unique visit. That's them as an entity. The numbers for Lake County visits to Riley Hospital equal 4,320 patients that are seen from just Lake County in Riley Hospital, and it is the highest number of unique patient visits to Riley in all of the northern region, whether it's northwest, up in central or whatever, but we're the highest number of we have the highest number of patients that go and visit Riley Hospital. So keep those dollars coming when your schools have their fundraisers, and we'll make sure that money gets approved and delivered appropriately. So thank you again.
Next on our agenda is another update from Mr. Stanish, and that is regarding the Veterans Day celebration coming up soon.
All right, thank you, Dr. Baracco and our Lake Central School Board for this opportunity to share with you, everyone today here in attendance, also about our Veterans Day ceremony that will be taking place on Thursday, November 10th. Mrs. Schuyler and the History Club, Mr. Pruitt and the Interact Club, and our Veterans Day Planning Committee have been working since early September on this incredible event, and our goal is to show appreciation to our veterans, both past and present. I have Mr. Tom Clark here with me today, recently retired social studies teacher here from Lake Central High School, a veteran himself. He is also part of our planning committee. We take a lot of pride in what we do here. This ceremony is a huge part of what makes Lake Central and the Lake Central School Corporation an incredible place to be. we would like to share a few things with the school board and everyone in attendance about what is going to be going on during our assembly. I brought a few copies of the invitations for you guys to kind of take a look at. If you'd like to pass those around as well. Thank you. Mr. Pruitt actually made that with the Interact Club, so he gets all the credit with that. He did a fantastic job. We'll be providing a hot breakfast for all our veterans who are in attendance and their families from 7:30 in the morning until 8:45. Our school-wide ceremony will take place at 9 a.m. and last until approximately 10:30. I think that everyone who attends will not be disappointed. And we are working with our technology department right now, too, as well, to get it live streamed, so those that can't be in attendance can actually watch it but not be there. At this time, I'd like to formally invite our school board and our central office administration to actually attend the event. I know I haven't sent anything out to you guys formally yet, so now I am formally asking you or requesting your attendance if you can. There is a QR code on the sheet. If you scan it, you can actually fill out the invitation on a Google form. There's also been emails sent out to parents and students as well to fill out the Google form. If you would like to submit a photo of your veteran, feel free. That veteran's picture will be placed into a PowerPoint presentation that will be sent and played throughout the entire ceremony. So you will see the picture of your veteran that you submit. So please make sure that you guys fill that out, send that back to us. And if you have any questions in regard to the actual ceremony itself, they can be directed towards me. And if you guys would like to just email me if you are going to be in attendance, that's fine too. Or if you'd like to fill out the nifty little QR code that we put together, that's fine too. But that's it. Thank you very much. And thank you to the committee. Thank you to everyone here for giving us the opportunity to present this to you. And we look forward to seeing everyone there on November 10th.
Next up, we have some members of the executive board with the Lake Central Education Foundation team to come up and present round 57 grants to our winners.
Well, first, we'd like to thank the board for allowing us to do this. This is the Lake Central Education Grant Round 57. Whoa, a lot of people tonight. Nice to see you. Okay. Our purpose is we raise money to provide grants for teachers or students or businesses, people that are interested in helping students with innovative learning projects. Okay. Okay. So this round we had 8 grants. We gave away $5,226. It has accumulated to 622 grants worth $321,902. So that's what we have given so far. This grant round, isn't that wonderful? This grant round will reach 1,014 students in our Lake Central School District. So the first one we have is Tracy Capozzi from Watson, the Treehouse Travelers, for $750. Okay, the goal of the Treehouse Travelers is for students to learn all the important reading skills while traveling through different time periods and learning about new cultures and science topics. They will be working together to read and discuss novels with groups of students and partners of a like ability, different abilities, and small and whole reading groups with Tracy here. The novels will take the students on a journey that will spark the love of reading while whisking them away off to different places and keeping them in suspense, while each adventure ultimately encourages them to want to read and learn more. The strategies they learn through this unit will encourage them, and they will gain science and social studies topics, and will make them stronger readers and more well-rounded students. So, side note, I use these in my classroom. My kids, they read one chapter, they want to read the next chapter. We don't, so these are wonderful books. very much. Oh, yes, Tracy. Thank you so much. Okay.
Hello. Our next grant recipient is Lori Rosine from Clark Middle School. Lori's grant was called Building School Community through Project Lit for a total of $747.29. This is for Clark's Project Lit members, our literacy members who help spread the joy of reading among the rest of the students via donations to classroom libraries, book talks on announcements, and summer reading raffle and campaign. Congratulations.
Our next grant recipient is Molly Waldeer from Kaler Middle School. Her grant is titled Integration of Virtual Reality to Impact Social Studies Academic Performance, and she was awarded $642.92. Students will be able to take virtual reality field trips and interact with the content to bring another layer of immersive learning to each unit. Molly, oh, she's right next to me. Congratulations, Molly. I know, I wondered where she was. Congratulations.
First of all, as a co-president of the foundation, I'd just like to say thank you to the board members that are here this evening to help and work all the time. We have our co-president, Susan Schweitzer, and our vice president, Danielle Spellavoro. Did I do good? We also have Mike Seljan, who is our treasurer, and Zach Seljan, who helps us out, do lots of running around to get things done. So you guys, thank you for being here this evening. And Melody, we know, is our grant chairman, but you didn't say your name, so there you go.
Melody.
Yeah. And
you know, they're all volunteers. They're all volunteers.
Yeah.
They don't get paid a dime for doing this.
we also want to thank the school board and the administration. Rob always helps us out a lot. Dr. Veraco, thank you very much. And we're taking a second and we'll move right along here. All right, thank you all. My opportunity to present her check tonight is Beth Hall from the high school. She works with a couple other people, Mark Stryback and Holly Sweeting, and their grant is called Accessibility Through Virtual Reality. She was awarded $586.89. Students will quickly learn that the sky is not the limit when they board a spaceship to explore our solar system. And in feeling adventurous, they may choose where to go and where they've never been before on a mission to explore the enchanted territory of deep space, all via virtual reality. Amazing technology, huh? Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. I guess I better give you your money. Yeah, it's so good. Nice work.
Okay. So I'm jumping back in. Okay. Elizabeth Schultz is from Homan. It's called Give It a Shot for $514. Basketball is a great way to work on a team. It also improves gross motor skills by using major muscle groups. Young children who play basketball improve flexibility and endurance. The students will benefit from improved fine motor skills such as hand-eye coordination. Your consideration of this grant proposal is much appreciated in order to ensure that Homan students to have updated, safe equipment in which to enjoy the sport. So, thank you, Beth. There you go, Lily. Jennifer Miller, is she here tonight? Okay, Jennifer Miller was one that didn't respond to me. Her grant is What is a Fraction Angle for $493. And then we have two people that didn't attend, Jeff Edmond at Clark for student selection and further reading, and Allison Council at Clark for middle school book love. So, and we forgot to introduce Janice Malco, or Dr. Malco is our board liaison. So, so thank you again, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time, and our entire community helps to raise funds, and I see some faces here that work with the foundation. I just wanted to say thank you very much for sponsoring and working with us. We have a 5K fundraiser that's coming up honoring one of our own students, Dr. Dana Less, who is a graduate, and perhaps some of you know about her story. We do appreciate everybody that contributes. Lake Central is really a good place to be, and thank you for the community for helping us help our teachers.
All right, I'm going to move on with my final agenda item of the night. And I do have talking points in the back if anybody wants to see what exactly I'm following in terms of the format. And I do want to try to follow it for those folks who aren't here this evening, but maybe either watching the live stream at home or will watch the recording later. I think most of the people in this room are aware, but at our last meeting, we were challenged to look more closely at the displays in our classrooms throughout the district. And we did go back and, take a stroll around the buildings to see what do we have as far as displays or signage that could be deemed political or religious in nature. Part of what we received in the message of concern was that we really weren't following the current case law or guidance in some cases of the Indiana State Attorney General. And so we wanted to look closely at all of that information. A review of that did, remind us at central office that, our classrooms are not an open public forum. Okay, we have different litmus tests for what should be in classrooms compared to certain areas, a town square, et cetera. And I want to say this early in this presentation that we still firmly believe that our staff members have decorated their rooms to make students feel welcome. It's been said to me, that's too simple, Larry. That's too simple of an explanation. But I still firmly believe that. However, it is in plenty of case law that classroom decorations are considered nonverbal speech. And so our teachers, while they can put any sign in their yard they want for any cause that they want, as a classroom teacher, the courts have said we're paid to teach the material, not express opinions and create our own lessons. Okay. Student displays, on the other hand, if you look at case law on that, it's a lot broader. Unless the student's shirt or the message that they are displaying is causing a significant disruption to student learning or student discipline, the school has to determine that it is not a violation of what the state would say should not be displayed. So as we move forward, we look at it and say, okay, we got to be intentional in what we have displayed, mainly because our students are a captive audience. They don't have a choice. We have a state that has a mandatory attendance law, and when you sign up to be a student in our schools, we should have classrooms that cannot be seen as indoctrinating our students. So, based on that, our displays should be neutral. Displays involving political or religious perspectives, as I said earlier, could open us up to being an open forum, which means then some of the other hate stuff, swastika flag, stars and bars, things of that nature, would also be eligible to be displayed. And so the conclusion you draw from the analysis in Indiana is that all messages must be considered for political or religious content. You don't have to go too far west to get a different message. Okay? That pride flag in Illinois is not considered a political message. In Oregon, it's not considered a political message. In Indiana, it is. So the results, in us having to look at what we display and trying to determine where exactly does it fit. So what did we do to adjust to this in order to follow the guidance from the law, case law, the Attorney General opinion? We are permitting only classroom displays that are neutral politically or religiously. Now, our staff was notified last week to remove items that support Black Lives Matter, pride flags, specific LGBTQ messaging, and religious messaging. At the same time, staff must continue to be diligent in addressing and reporting violations of Lake Central's various non-discrimination policies. So at our principals meeting the week after this came up, my number one concern I shared with our admin was how will we support students who saw that little symbol on the wall or on a teacher's desk as a welcome mat? How will we give that same level of comfort? And I shared then, and I'll share it again now, that our staff probably needs to be more diligent than ever to not let kids get picked on for any reason. Color of their skin, the way they dress, the color of their hair, they're too tall, they're too short, they're too skinny, too heavy. I believe, and I have full confidence, that our staff can use this situation as a springboard to celebrate kindness, to call out meanness, and to continue to be welcoming, because they already are. And that's why students like our schools. That's why students like our teachers, because they trust them. And then for those who are concerned, who say, I'm glad this stuff is going away, our teachers do evaluate their staff. They're in classrooms regularly, informally and formally, and so they will continue to observe, to check that. But with 550 different staff members and 9,200 different students, things can be brought up many times by students. And so discussions do occur, and it can in many ways be beneficial to the learning process. So what else can we do? Well, we have to study this a little more, and I think our people are pretty creative. But we have a board policy, 2110, that already says that all are welcome here. It already says that each individual has dignity and worth. Students are our number one priority. And perhaps we can amend it to add something, all students are welcome and all are respected. We can adapt that policy anytime we want to include stronger language. But in the end, it is the actions and the words of staff that are the most important thing for having our students know they're cared about. Do I think that some symbols are comforting? Yes, I understand that. But currently, based on everything that we've researched and all of the legal opinions we've gotten, we will not win this argument in a court in Indiana. So really it comes down to how can we use this situation to become a kinder Lake Central? That's what I'd like to see. I think that's what a lot of people in this room would like to see. One other note I want to say before I turn it over, and I know that a lot of people are going to come up and make comments, and we welcome those here at the end of the business meeting, is that if we do board policy revisions, we generally talk those over at a work session but it never gets voted until it comes before this regular public meeting. So when we list a board agenda, we individually list those policies, so before any action would get taken, people, if you watch the agenda, you would see it coming. And when we take action at this meeting, it is an action item, so you would sign up on that first opportunity to speak and weigh in before the board would hear the proposal from me and then make a motion and then vote. So that's all I have for right now, and I will turn it over then to Mrs. Mucha, Director of Human Resources.
Thank you very much. We are recommending the following personnel items be approved, but I do want to draw special attention to the retirement of Nancy Moroviak, who has 39 years of education, so congratulations to her.
Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Dr. Malco,
Second?
second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. My second item is for a transportation benefit change to increase by 1 personal business day for every bus driver.
Move to improve the transportation benefit change?
We have a motion by Dr. Medlin, second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? All in favor?
It will now match what the paraprofessionals get.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move right along to our Director of Primary Education, Dr. Bracy.
Good evening. I'm just seeking approval for the professional leave request in your board packets.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Our Director of Secondary Education, Mrs. Castaneda.
Thank you. For my first item, I am seeking your approval for the professional leave request, the revised copy that you received this evening. Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Mrs. Kelly,
Second.
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And for my second item, I am seeking your approval for the field trip requests.
Move to approve the field trip requests?
Motion by Dr. Medlin, and I will, Dr. Malkow will second that. All in favor, or any discussion, excuse me? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Director of Student Services, Mrs. Gramala.
My only item tonight is to seek approval for the professional leave requests included in the board packet.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall.
Second?
Mrs. Kelly will second that. Any discussion?
Yes, I was wondering, what is augmentative and alternative communication?
That is the use of both high and low tech. Mrs. Hall is watching me answer this question. High and low tech methodology to support students with speech and language development. So students who might be nonverbal, how can we support them and give them a voice and a functional mode of communication?
So some examples? And can you give me some examples?
Sure. Low tech would be a picture exchange communication system where a student uses a picture to request what they want, all the way up to high tech, which is those would be technology devices that here we tend to use a methodology called LAMP, which allows students to use a device to speak for them and generate spoken language.
Oh, very good. I appreciate that explanation. Thank you so much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Our Director of Business Services, Mr. James.
Thank you, Mrs. Sues. Now is the culmination of the budget process that we started 2 meetings ago. So my first couple of resolutions will deal with adopting the 2023 budget. So the first resolution in your packet is to seek your approval for the budget appropriations and tax levy as presented.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second?
second by Dr. Malco. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item is to seek your approval for the 2023 capital projects plan.
Move to approve the 2023 capital projects plan?
We have a motion by Dr. Medlin. I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. My next item is to seek your approval on the 2023 school bus replacement plan.
Also move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall.
Second.
Second by Dr. Malko. Any discussion?
Mr. James, am I correct in remembering these are mostly propane?
We average around 10 new buses a year, and we've been doing approximately 7 propane and 3 gas.
Okay.
Just because we need the traditional gas vehicles to go on some of the longer distance routes where we can't necessarily rely on propane tanks to be found. So, yes, but we are transitioning more and more buses to the propane route.
All right, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. My next resolution sets the amount that we will annually transfer from our education fund to the operations fund. Just a little history that once the funding changed in 2019, many things that used to be paid out of our old general fund were statutorily moved to the operations fund, but the funding mechanism did not change, and all the money comes into the ed fund, so we have to transfer money to the ops fund. State law doesn't want you to transfer more than 15% of your tuition support there. This resolution will transfer $6 million during calendar year 2023 from education fund to ops fund, and this would represent approximately 9% of our funding. So I seek your approval on that resolution.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, I seek the board approval to apply for the Common School Loan Program from the state of Indiana. We use these funds to replace technology, Chromebooks, and smartboards throughout our school district. So I seek your approval for that.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mrs. Kelly.
Second.
Second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion?
And every year when we go through Common School Fund loan approvals, I always suggest that we add the staff to support the unique and effective implementation of the equipment.
Yeah. Yep, we have the tech trainers that specifically do that at our buildings, and we have the technology assistants that are assigned to each building as well. So, yep, they are there to support our staff and our teachers. So.
Very good, thank you.
Sure.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I seek your approval for the 3 professional leave requests in your board packet.
Move to approve the 3 professional leave requests.
I have a motion by Dr. Medlin, and I will second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, I seek your approval on the donations that were listed in your board packet.
Motion to approve the donations?
Donation by, excuse me, Mrs. Kelly, and do we have a second?
I will second that.
We have a second by
We
Dr.
approve
Malko.
those donations. Thank you.
Motion, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now I just want to give the board and the public just a summary recap of our ADM count. Our ADM count is our student count that is taken in the middle of September. That basis of that count is what is used for our funding in our education fund. Comparing the fall count here in 2022 to 2021, we are down 134 students district-wide to a total of 9,094. But just diving into the numbers a little bit more, what I do is I kind of look at the cohorts of each class. You know, how does this year's 7th graders compare to last year's 6th graders and so forth. And our current junior class at the high school is about 25 students less than they were last year's sophomores. And the 10th graders are about 15 less than they were as freshmen. However, pretty much every other grade has more students than they did last year. And so you say that, well, then how are we down 134 students? Well, the answer is because we had 844 kids graduate, and we had 600 kids come in as kindergartners. And so instead of being down 244 students, we're only down 134 because we've had 110 more families and kids coming to the school district and wanting to be here and moving into our district instead. So we're down. Our high school numbers, this was a big class of 844 last year. Our current classes at the high school are all under 800. We don't really see much change in the incoming classes. They've been in that low, 500, 600 kids amount. But with less kids graduating, maybe that gap will be less and we can absorb it. But the good thing is that we see this with our demographics, and based on that, we can project going forward and know what our position is going to be based on that. So any questions on that? Okay. Finally, my last item is we're at the end of the quarter, the third quarter of budget year 2022. And so at your workstation, I've included two nice spreadsheets for you. The first one is, if you look in the top left-hand corner, it says the cash flow for our education fund, January through December. And again, this is for calendar year 2022 because that is our budget year. This is through actual activity through September. And what everyone looks to is the bottom right-hand corner, which shows the positive and the negative of how did our revenue compare to our expenditures. And currently, we are projecting to be plus about $80,000 to the good, which out of a $66 million budget, we're right on line because we are not in the business to increase our cash reserves. We want to put all the money we get from the state into our classrooms and support our teachers and our paraprofessionals in class. So we've been averaging pretty well. And again, even though we were down students, our funding actually is increased this school year because of the amount of money that the General Assembly put into the funding formula during the long session a year and a half ago. And so before I move on to the next sheet, does anyone have any questions? Okay. So because of what I've explained, yeah, we get our money from the state, but we also get money for our taxpayers that goes into our operations fund, and we also have our referendum fund, and we have a rainy day fund, and really all those funds work together now. And because as I mentioned earlier, we move money from the one to the other, to really get a true reflection of the school district, you got to take all four of those funds together because they are just important. As I said, our referendum fund goes to help pay for teacher salaries, so just looking at the education fund itself doesn't do it justice. That referendum fund pays for our SROs, it pays for counselors and social workers for our kids and so forth. So it's important to look at that money when we're looking at the school district. So the second page I have for you combines all of those four funds together to see how the district is operating. And currently, right now, we're looking at our expenditures exceeding our revenue by about $186,000. Again, out of a $94 million budget, we're right on line there of we want to be as close to the margin as possible to support our teachers and staff and all of our employees, because this incorporates them all. So we're running well there. Financially, we're in fine shape. And so I would turn it over to the board in case anyone has any questions.
So I guess I have a question. So the 186,000 negative does not concern you?
No, because, it's pretty, out of $94 million, that's pretty close to as we're going to get. And so much is an estimate. As when we're comparing a budget, we just 10 minutes ago prepared the budget for calendar year 2023. None of us saw 8% inflation in our cost of fuel and our cost of food, our cost of school supplies for kids. And so the fact that we've been able to take those extra costs in and still be able to run pretty close to the margin and not be 8% down, it's this team working together, working with our teachers and staff to still provide that education process, but, as close to the margin. We know we're going to take a little bit of a hit, but we're weathering the storm too.
Okay.
So.
Very good, and I knew you would have a good explanation, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions, discussion? All right. So now we'll move on to our public comments portion. I would like to remind everyone that public comments are for the board to consider. The time is not set aside for back and forth debate. If you ask a question and we are able to answer you, that will be part of your allotted time. All statements shall be directed to the board president, and no person may address or question board members individually. Each person signed up with information requested on the sign-up sheet will have 3 minutes to address the board. You will be alerted when you have 15 seconds left, and we ask that you wrap up your comments. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 30 minutes unless extended by the board. Once we are at 30 minutes, I will ask the board if they wish to continue to hear public comments. Please, we ask that you refrain from personal attacks or derogatory statements about any student, school employee, or anyone else, whether in attendance or not. When we call your name, if you'd please approach the microphone and address the board, and please state your name and address, and then we'll hear your comments. So our first speaker is Ryan Neff.
Hello, my name is Ryan Neff. I'm 9945 Spring Lake Road, St. John. And I'm a father of 2 daughters in the school system. I've been happy with their education, not only with the curriculum, but also the values that they're being taught with compassionism, understanding, accepting, and becoming well-rounded human beings. The teachers, administrators, counselors, coaches, and club sponsors have all had a hand in the development of my daughters becoming who they are. The phrase, "it takes a village to raise a child," originates from an African proverb and conveys the message that it takes to many people to provide a safe, healthy environment for our children. The concept of this village is the notion that caring for children is a shared responsibility amongst many. Therefore, we as parents cannot do it alone, and I am fortunate to have a school system like Lake Central to help my daughters grow into strong, kind, independent women. Part of that education is learning to accept people for who they are and learning to become an ally and a friend to those who have been bullied, discriminated against because they are viewed different. Have we forgotten what it says on Lady Liberty? Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. A Progress Pride flag or a BLM poster shows the marginalized student that they are safe and welcome and able to breathe free. It shows these students that we accept who you are. The LGBTQ plus and minority students have traditionally higher percentages of being bullied, poor mental health, and suicide. It is imperative that educators and peers make these students know that they have a safe place and they are welcome. This past week, the teacher has been instructed to remove flags, posters, and materials that are deemed political and religious from their classrooms. It was sad it was the same week as National Coming Out Day. And the fact that these materials have been removed sends a message to LGBTQ and minority students that they are different and we cannot discuss you in school. School should be a safe place for all students. It should be a space where we learn about different cultures, ways of life, a place to advance young people to well-rounded human beings that make a difference in this world. Having these materials up in the classroom benefits all students, promoting acceptance and respect, teaching them about diverse people and families in the world. Students are able to empathize, connect, and work along with diverse groups of peers. They understand that they're being taught by these same minorities and LGBTQ communities. And it teaches us to be an ally and a friend. Saying that these materials are not a political statement, that's incorrect. It's a humanitarian statement. Sexual orientation, gender identity, and race are separate from political affiliation. These
15 seconds. 15 seconds.
Moving on, we need to respect our educators and be an ally with them. These are the same people that provided a safe space at the potential school shooter last year. We need to stop coming at this board with selective discrimination complaints.
Time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. The next speaker, Alexis Horgash.
Alexis Horgash, 9241 Marquette Street, St. John, Indiana. I would like to address the recent decision to remove posters, flags, and other items that allow students to express themselves and promote acceptance and positivity. Printed on page 4 of the Lake Central High School Handbook, the foundation for Lake Central School Corporation's vision is commitment, pride, service, integrity, respect, ambition, excellence, responsibility, and tolerance. What is tolerance? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, tolerance is defined as the willingness to accept or tolerate someone or something, especially opinions or behaviors that you may not agree with, or people who are not like you. Below this level of foundation is safety and security. Each student has the right to feel safe in school. However, how are students given the chance to feel safe when they do not feel accepted? The decision to remove said items can have a negative impact on a student's self-esteem, feeling of acceptance, and a potential to cause academic decline. Without the foundation of this vision, the pillars would not be able to stand alone, which would lead to not being able to achieve the top of the pyramid, which is stated to be a college and career-ready graduate. We are at school for 6 hours and 54 minutes, from 7:15 when the bell first rings to 2:09 when the final bell rings. We are to go from class to class. We are provided lunch and are expected to stay inside of our rooms unless allowed to do so by faculty. And if we don't, we get a consequence such as a detention or a Wednesday school. On top of that, we are now to sit in a classroom with bare walls. This is a schedule that sounds much like a prison, with bare concrete walls being a contributing factor. Located on the Lake Central School Corporation's website, a belief of Lake Central is a positive school environment is essential for learning. How are students able to learn if we do not feel safe and secure in our school environment? As we note that some students may not see an issue with their learning environment, we must also see that other students have some concerns about this. Another Lake Central belief is students are our #1 priority. If we choose to only focus on the students who do not have an issue with what is and what is not on our school walls, are the opposing students being placed on second priority? If each student is valued and respected like the next, the right for a student to identify and express themselves should be valued and respected as well. Posters promoting colleges and academic partnerships are displayed all throughout Lake Central High School. College and career readiness is often expressed in the LCHS handbook. It is also said that high school is meant to prepare students for the real world, which is referring to the responsibilities of high school. If we are preparing our students for the future, we must teach them that it is okay to not be accepted and by who they are or who they identify as.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kalia Saldara.
Kalia Saldana, 670 Gatlin Road, Cherville, Indiana, 46375. So, I came here today with a speech. I'm not saying that speech. Can I set it there?
Yes.
So, I'm gonna move this closer because you probably can't hear me. You'll hear me breathe though. I have gone to the school district since first grade. And I have never felt so not accepted until now. Well, I did. I've been bullied for a really long time. Never told anyone, because the 2 times that I did come forward, Lake Central staff showed me security footage of what happened to me and did not do anything about it. So every morning, if we are told that it is okay to ask for help and that we are not alone, they tell tell us that every morning over the announcements. How come when I went for help, nobody saw me, and nobody helped me? Under the harassment rule, I do not remember which module it was, but it states that any sexual referencing towards a teacher or a staff member will be punished by suspension and maybe even expulsion. But when the same thing happens to a student, it can go unpunished or at the most with a detention. I don't see the difference in a person, whether they are old enough to understand what is happening or whether they are too young to know. And I want you to know that because I feel that that is important, because I know other people who did not report how they were feeling or what happened to them. My freshman year, I was pushed down the stairs so much my legs began to scab and bruise. How come there was no teacher to help me when that happened? How come there was no teacher when people called me slurs about who I love and how I am? Where were they? Where was the punishment and the reprimanding of those students? If Lake Central School Corporation values their students as much as they say, the topic at hand is indebatable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alicia Paul.
Alicia Paul, 8677 Calhoun Place, Crown Point. Thank you to the board for allowing me to speak tonight. I would first like to talk about the poster brought before you at the last meeting. I am urging you to not take action based on one person's beliefs or opinions. The poster in question was deemed offensive, and honestly, I find that interpretation incredibly offensive. The poster reads, as you all know, in this classroom, we believe science is real, Black Lives Matter, love is love, feminism is for everyone, humans are not illegal, kindness is everything. A lot was mentioned about the Black Lives Matter organization. However, the statement that Black Lives Matter is a fact. Science is real. It was mentioned that because of COVID, that isn't true. COVID and how that was handled does not change the fact that science is real. I didn't hear an issue with feminism is for everyone. I'm sure there's no bias there. As the board, all nonpartisan members, please do not allow political extremists dictate what is appropriate in our schools. In the Lake Central Code of Conduct, you have your own beliefs listed, just like that poster. It reads, sorry, I'm so shaky. It reads, each individual has dignity and worth. Students are our number one priority. We must continually improve and strive for excellence. Everyone can learn. People learn in different ways and different rates. Teachers are critically important in every student's education. School provides a foundation for a lifetime of learning. The total school environment affects learning. Self-esteem is directly related to learning. Educated citizens are essential to a democratic society. That is what it says on your website. I don't see any of those statements say one person's opinion should dictate our classroom's environment. Your students are a captive audience. That is what you said, Dr. Bracco. And you are forcing teachers to tell their students they are not their allies. They do not have support at school. A pride flag is not a political statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Paul.
Hello, Peter Paul, 8677 Calhoun Place in Crown Point.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board. I am here to raise awareness about the impending future for Lake Central School Corporation if continued disingenuous outrage is yielded to. Across the U.S., special interest groups have organized to push their views by running for school boards, even if they have no children in the corporation, as well as local government positions. You can see it already happening across the country. School board meetings across the U.S. have turned from polite, albeit passionate, discourse into screaming, yelling chaos. It has already happened here. Believe me, posters are not going to be the end. In the past year, over 1,600 books have been banned in the U.S. schools. Librarians have been fired, sued, and have had at least 27 police reports levied against them. This is the true goal of the movement: steadily demand their personal beliefs be adhered to until public schools more closely resemble private and/or Christian institutions. You will hear buzzwords designed to frighten and enrage parents like Marxists, communists, and pornography, to demand change under the guise of parental choice. Is the school board beholden to every demand from every single parent? Where does it end? Can an atheist come in here and yell loud enough until no Christian imagery is to be seen on or near school grounds? I know I don't personally have all the beliefs that every teacher and administrator has, and that is okay. If my children see or hear something at school, they know they can come to their parents and ask. Are we not talking to our children? In the real world, our children will be exposed to different views and cultures. Don't you want our school to reflect a real-world democracy, where people of different backgrounds come together and are inclusive of others and their ideas, learning to live together peacefully? We all want what is best for our children. As you on the board, they want that as well. Is inclusiveness, acceptance, and tolerance that horrible? Please try to view this from the students that are here and with whom the poster applies to. Are we telling them that they don't matter, that they are different and not accepted? I'm putting my trust in this board's decisions and ability to be compassionate and caring enough to listen. Finally, I'll leave with this. With the new policy in place, are we going to change the name of Easter break? That's religious. Thank you.
Abby O'Neill. Abby O'Neill.
Abby O'Neill, 6628 Falcon Drive, Cherville, Indiana.
Thank you.
I'm about to tell you, I'm sorry. I have been with the Lake Central School Corporation since second grade, and I am now a senior. On August 13th, 2019, I walked into my photo class, excited to see that I'm finally a high school student, and I'm ready to meet my new teachers. As I walked into Miss Carrie Wadicki Cruz's room, I noticed that she wasn't like the rest of my teachers that I've had before. She had photos of her family and friends, her achievements, and most importantly, it's just some random decorations that made her class her class. Wad has always been so kind and generous to me and my fellow peers. The only time she has really talked about her pride flags is when she's talking about herself or when we usually ask. As a sponsor of the Gay Straight Alliance Club, she deserves to have those flags in her room, so she is obligated to represent that they are not alone. And ever since she's been told to take down all the stuff in her room, it just hasn't felt like her room. Like I walked in freshman year. All the stuff that she had from the past, like last year, is all gone. All of the photos of Miss Vera Putin is gone, and just everything that she has achieved. August 10th, 2021, I also walked into my English 10 class, obviously not excited for a new school year, but when I first got my schedule, I didn't recognize this new teacher, and neither did my friends. So going into that new school year without any opinions on a teacher is kind of scary because you don't know if they're going to be really strict or really friendly. When I walked into Mr. Lee's class, he greeted me, and then when I finally sat down, I looked around his classroom and noticed the little pride flag hanging from his cup. This year, I noticed that he got a bigger pride flag and hung it up right next to his door so other people don't feel alone. But same as Watt, he also had to take it down from previous events. So both of these teachers have welcomed me into their arms and haven't forced anything on me or my classmates, as I've noticed. Thank you for listening.
Jerry Maldonado.
My name is Jerry Maldonado. I live on 8425 Pine Island Drive. Good evening, board members. I stand here today to speak on behalf of the students who cannot make it today. I'm here to talk about the disgraceful events that are proceeding. I'm here to talk about the attack on us students who stand proud of who we are. I'm here because I'm very upset and very hurt by hearing that the pride flags in my school must be taken down because of one concerned bigot who has no involvement in the school. By you acting without reason has caused you to not only upset me, but many parents, many students, and many faculty. I learned freedom of speech when it comes to my sexuality, and freedom to express who I am in a respectful manner are protected rights. Nothing was wrong with my LGBTQ expression before this bigot attacked us. I, as a Latino, should have the ability to express who I am the same way everyone expresses themselves being gay or not, and be respected. We are all human, we all have our own beliefs, and for someone to objectify us for our own beliefs is not okay. By you even considering and approving to having the flags and our pride be taken down throughout the school is shameful. You are acting extremely shameful and disrespectful, going against all the school's rules you require us not to act like. As a board, your job is to protect us students and make sure we have the things we need to grow mentally and become amazing humans. These actions will make us as a student body be more aware of these ongoing board decisions so our rights are not ever trampled again. Know that this event is not forgivable, and we as students and parents will not forgive you for these idiotic decisions. We are truly hurt by this. Our pride has been stripped from us, and all you've done is show that even a higher power does not stand by us in these events. All of us have fought hard and long in this ongoing war of hate that devours our world. We've made it hard and far and hard. We've made it a long journey. And for you to take this decision into action has just led us back to the beginning of where we stand. Thank you.
Della Stife.
How far away should I stand?
To the microphone. Thank you.
Della Stife, 9630 Sheffield Avenue, Dyer, Indiana. I know there is a current controversy regarding certain things hanging up in classrooms, and I want to ask you a simple question. How are pride flags political and/or controversial? Why are teachers at the high school, elementary, and middle schools forced to take their supportive flags and signs down or face having to resign? I want to put something into perspective for you. Imagine you are a young LGBTQ teenager and you walk into a classroom and you see a sign that says, "Hate has no place here," and beside that sign is a small pride flag that you can see clearly from the teacher's desk. This shows the young teenager that this teacher is someone they can confide in and share their identity with. For many, there is no fear surrounding sharing one's identity, but for an LGBTQ teen, it isn't that simple. I want you to imagine that the teachers are scared, they take those things down, and all of a sudden this LGBTQ student does not know if they have an adult to confide in. To see teachers who are so confident within their identity having to take those things down is doing nothing but hurting those kids. According to the Trevor Project, LGBTQ teens have a 4 times more likely suicide rate than their straight peers. This is not because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but they are placed at a higher risk because of how mistreated and stigmatized they are in society. Do we want to contribute to this mistreatment and stigmatization instead of standing against it? I am happy to share any of this research through email if anyone wants it, but research isn't everything. I can also speak from my own personal experience. I know the importance of having teacher or adult to confide in and how these relationships can save lives. How are those teens going to know they are safe if the teacher cannot express their tolerance? The LGBTQ+ community is not political. It is centered around identity. It is centered around loving who you want to love. There is no reason teachers should not be allowed to have these things up in their classrooms. According to the court case, Tinker versus Des Moines, teachers and students do not lose their First Amendment rights when they enter the school building so long as it does not become a distraction. If students do not complain about the signs to school administration,
then it is not a distraction to their learning. How are teachers' First Amendment rights being protected? Can teachers get into trouble for having those things up in classrooms at Lake Central schools? Where will this end? And ultimately, how effective can an educational institution be if students do not feel supported in who they are? Listed on the Lake Central School Corporation's website, we have belief statements included within our mission statement. I'd like to end by reminding everyone that we believe each individual has dignity and worth. A positive school learning environment is essential for learning. Teachers are critically important in every student's education, and students are our number one priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Kai Blankenship.
Kai Blankenship, 223 Lace Park Street, Cherville, Indiana. Today I want to take a second and share my experience as an LGBTQ kid at Lake Central High School. I can't speak for everyone, but I want the board and Dr. Veracco to understand another student perspective of the current situation. Freshman year, I walked into Carrie Wadicki Cruz's room, and her pride flag let me know that it was a safe space for me. It's hard to put into words how scary it is to be a queer kid in high school. It feels so isolating. Seeing the flags in her room and knowing that there is at least one safe space where I could go at school changed my high school experience forever. I remember the moment I came out to Miss Wadicki Cruz and Sarah Verputin. The acceptance they showed me told me that I had a place at this school. And this is coming from a kid with the most supportive family I can ask for. My dad is even on the list to speak tonight. And even with this overwhelming love and support from home, I was afraid to express myself in high school. So I can't imagine how important this symbol of acceptance is to students who cannot be themselves at home, for students who could feel unsafe expressing their identities to their friends or family. Being LGBTQ+ is not a religious or political issue. It is not. It is our identity. It is who we are. We cannot change our height. We cannot change our skin color. We cannot change our sexualities. We cannot change our identities. Taking down flags isn't going to make queer people less real. It's just going to make them feel more isolated and alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Neil Blankenship.
I'm Neil Blankenship, 223 Lace Park Street in Cherville. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I come as a parent concerned about the forced removal of pride flags from our classrooms. I believe the unintended consequences of this policy could be much worse than any perceived dangers posed by the supposedly ominous collection of colors. I would hope that most here would agree that the highest priority of our schools should be the well-being of our kids. A recent national survey conducted by the Trevor Project shows that LGBTQ kids experience higher rates of bullying and violence. They are much more likely to show symptoms of anxiety and depression. LGBTQ kids consider suicide at a much higher rate, and they attempt suicide at a much higher rate than their straight cis counterparts. These risk factors are not higher simply because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but because of the stigmatization, and negative treatment that comes with them. In fact, the suicide attempt rates were lower for LGBT youth when they felt high social support from their family, when they felt they lived in a community that was accepting, and most importantly for our discussion today, when they found that their school is LGBTQ affirming. As far as pride flags, I can honestly say, as a straight cis male, I've never encountered or seen any flag of any kind that has made me question my sexuality. I would be interested to hear from anyone who may have had a different experience, but the reality is that that's not how sexual orientation or gender identity work. I would hope, however, that seeing a pride flag might help anyone who sees it understand that it represents a group of real people who deserve real support and respect. I would hope that any LGBTQ people who see it would feel supported and respected. And more specifically, I would hope that any non-LGBTQ students who see it in our schools would know that it represents a group of students who are dealing with all of the same struggles that they are, but in many cases, many additional struggles as well. I would hope that any LGBTQ students who see it in our schools would feel like they are in a space where they feel included and feel safe. As mentioned before, many LGBTQ youth are in higher risk situations. Many may not feel like they can be accepted as they are by family or in our community. Our schools may be, in some cases, the only safe spaces they have. It's not political. It's about acceptance and inclusion, specifically for some kids who need it the most. If we care about our kids, all of our kids, We must consider the negative implications of these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Natalie Genovese.
My name is Natalie Genovese, 8176 Knickerbocker Place, St. John.
Thank you.
I'm a senior at Lake Central this year. It also marks my third and final year in the place that I've called my home, my publications classroom. I come to school every day looking forward to stepping through the door of E120. Miss Carrie Cruz, who I call Wad, is a human that I associate with the classroom. Within those classroom walls is where I feel the safest in the school building. And I'm not just saying that because of the circumstances. I'm saying that because that in these walls, she has taught me so many valuable life lessons. One being to always speak the truth. Truth just happens to be one of the 4 of the Indiana High School Press Association core values, the other 3 being courage, freedom, and integrity. Being here tonight as part of the high school's publications department, I feel me and the others that are here tonight represent the voice of the Lake Central students. Miss Wadicki Cruz used to have pride flags hanging in her room, photos of her wife and kids, posters about kindness and inclusion, and most importantly, a sense of comfort for anyone seeking a safe space in the school building. Now her walls are bare, because why would any teacher want to express any part of themselves if they can't express who they really are? Being part of the LGBTQ+ community is part of who she is, and I don't love her any less because of it. She's a leader, a teacher, and a friend, but more importantly, she is a human being who deeply cares about her students, no matter their race, ethnicity, or sexuality. Being in the LGBTQ+ community is not what defines her. Being a good human is what defines her. She's someone that I can go to for anything, and she'll give me sound advice. I focus on Wad tonight because she is my teacher, but I'm quite sure there are other students here in other classrooms with teachers who have items of self-expression and have the same feelings as I do about Ms. Carrie Wadicki Cruz. Never once has she ever pushed me or any other student to study or learn anything about the self-representation items she contains in her classroom. Having these things that I just mentioned is simply an act of nonverbal speech, which Americans have their First Amendment right to the freedom of speech. By definition, self-expression is being able to express one's feelings, thoughts, or ideas, which in turn nurtures a bond between a student and a teacher. There are many LC students of the LGBTQ+ community who have formed a bond with Wad and who come to her classroom for acceptance and to feel included as part of a community. At the last board meeting, critical thinking was brought up. Isn't critical thinking being able to read a sign, an article, or see a flag and be able to decide for yourself if that is something that you believe in? I can tell you as a whole. I can tell you as a whole, open-minded students of Lake Central do not have a problem with self-expression. I believe that this is the parents pushing yet another piece of their political agenda on the school. Your actions are doing more harm than good to our student body. In closing, wouldn't it be better use of our time to focus on the things that bring us closer together as a society than the things that tear us apart?
Brooke Follard.
I am Brooke Follard from 933 Quinn Place, Dyer, Indiana. I wanted to start by thanking the board, everyone here, and everyone watching online. And I would hope that you would not only listen to me, but respectfully listen to everyone else, because that's what I've done for you guys. I stand in front of you today as not only as an educated journalist and student at Lake Central, but this is my senior year in Lake Central. I have been here since I've been in kindergarten. Being a journalist, I've covered many different experiences and wrote from an unbiased point of view. The Indiana High School Press Association's 4 core values are courage, freedom, integrity, and truth. Let me tell you about how these 4 values have been a foundation for who I am today and who I will be tomorrow. Courage is defined as the ability to do something that frightens one. I've been building this part of myself my whole life. Becoming a journalist, meeting new people and lifestyles, stepping out of my comfort zone are all things that allow me to grow. For example, standing in front of you all today. I'm speaking up to be the voice of the many silenced people that have been affected by the events that have taken place at the last school board meeting. The poster, as we all know, reads, "Science is real, Black lives do matter," as Dr. Rocco did say, which is true. All lives matter, Black lives matter, science is real, feminism is for everyone, humans are not illegal, and as everyone that has been discriminated against knows, kindness is everything. I hope that if you do not agree with my words, that you could hear me out because I have for you. This has brought me to my next core value, freedom. I know there is legality behind this, but I believe that it's our teachers' job to teach us the ways about life that are not like our own and give us the outside concept that we do not know ourselves. I know personally in my classes, in the curriculum, I've been learning about different religions, cultures, languages, historical events, and the validity of science for as long as I can remember. Not once have I had a teacher exclude, discriminate, disrespect any of these topics. It is our teachers' duties as our teachers to provide us with the knowledge that we need to progress into adulthood. You'll be sending your children to college, and they will be facing these factors anyways. We as students are the present, the learning, and the future. Every poster I have seen at my high school are inclusive and inviting. Since the last board meeting, I have watched my teachers be restricted and censored. The most welcoming, caring, and encouraging teachers have been asked to strip their rooms of signs that may be taken the wrong way from the wrong people. I can tell you from personal experience that I've been beautifully exposed to many ways of life. Pride flags are nonverbal speech, but they are required. I know it may seem that it's political, but it's not. These are people's lives, these are people's identities, and it's not your political playhouse. This is people's lives. You will be shown this no matter what, if you're in these walls or not. So why censor it? Many teachers have been told to take down their things, some choosing to do it beforehand because they knew it was coming. These items have been in classrooms for years with no complaints. I leave you all with one last thing today, my last two core values, integrity and truth. The golden rule, a concept we've been taught since kindergarten. The speaker who brought the poster to the board attention last meeting believed that these messages decreased our critical
15
skills.
seconds.
I disagree. In order to critically think, you must know all sides of the world. Lake Central, I hope you think about this. In the last 15 years, you've built a community that is loving, caring, and encouraging. By taking it away, you are ruining everything you've built. Thank you guys for listening.
Callie Kaneki.
Callie Kaneki, 11448 Valley Court, St. John, Indiana. One of Lake Central's core beliefs, as stated in their handbook, which is passed out to every student at the beginning of the year, is that harassment, including but not limited to, threats, extortion, racial or ethnic slurs, and initiation activities is prohibited. Profanities, threatening remarks, posturing, and obscene language or gestures by students directed toward another student are not allowed. This is general rule number 31, something that in my personal experience is not enforced properly. I have seen, heard, and been the subject of bullying based on things people cannot control. I am an open person, and I do not and will not hide parts of myself that are not under my control to appease people who refuse to accept others' differences. In my freshman year of high school, I had a backpack with rainbow straps on it. On many occasions, as I was leaving the school in front of multiple security guards and officers, I was harassed several different times, including being punched because of simply wearing a rainbow. Someone even attempted to cut the strap off, which led to my backpack breaking and being rendered unusable. Now I ask, according to rule number 31 in the student handbook, is that harassment? Does it count as a serious offense if I don't know who the young men were who did those things to me? Not allowing pride flags or teachers openly expressing their allyship does damage. If this rule stays put, one day there will be another freshman, and that freshman will be harassed the same as I. But the difference is that freshman will not have a safe space. They will not have a teacher they can go to and talk about it with because they will not know what rooms are and are not safe spaces. That's why this rule will damage so many young adults. While I understand the concern regarding parents not being conscious of what is shown to their kids in schools, students still have authority over their own opinions. The flags and positive statements are not there for a class lecture, but to provide a beacon for students who seek a community. Sheltering their children from LGBTQ+ people or people of color will not do anything for the child except create a larger issue, something that isn't being taken seriously enough because people won't see past the bright colors or simplified statements, and they fail to acknowledge the history of oppression and violence against minorities that led to what these flags symbolize in the present day. You are not just taking down a flag. You are taking down a sign to LGBTQ+ students that they have been recognized and related to, despite what they may go through at home or at school. Having one simple piece of fabric up can make a difference, and sometimes that difference can be life or death. Multiple teachers have been made to take down flags arguing equality for people of all races, which is an inalienable right of all citizens of this country via the United States Constitution. The Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ+ equality movements are not arguments that should be debated by anyone, regardless of their political party. Multiple books in the English curriculum argue racial equality, including A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, and The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Reading these books is the exact opposite of sheltering Lake Central students, so why should teachers be forced to take down signs, possibly a symbol of hope for people of color, when they are reading those books in the first place? These issues are not political arguments. These issues are human rights and basic human equality. So if general rule number 31 says that Lake Central does not tolerate harassment of any kind, why would we even consider worsening its effects by eradicating any trace of refuge for hundreds of young adults?
It's time.
Thank you. Anna Maldonado.
Anna Maldonado, 8425 Pine Island Drive, Crown Point. Good evening, board members. My name is Anna Maldonado. I am the proud parent of a gay Guatemalan, Puerto Rican, Latino son. Proud parent to 2 strong, educated Latina daughters. Proud wife of 30 years to a Puerto Rican Latino man. Grandmother of an Afro-Latina granddaughter, proud mother-in-law to an African-American son-in-law, proud daughter of Guatemalan immigrant parents, and a proud Guatemalan immigrant girl who became a naturalized American citizen 32 years ago. I wear this with pride. I am here tonight to defend the right to state science is real, Black Lives Matter, love is love, feminism is for everyone, humans are not illegal, and kindness is everything. I am here to defend the right of my son that the Supreme Court of this beautiful nation ruled in 1969 that students do not shed their constitutional right to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. My son is very disheartened, upset, and emotionally distraught that the school he needs to feel safe, included, and welcomed would allow such bigotry. My son feels discriminated. I will not stand by. You see, in June of 2021, the U.S. Department of Education confirmed Title IX protects students from discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Turns out, federal laws are handled by the Office for Civil Rights, and they tell my son and me he has rights that the ACLU will help him protect. I'm not happy that a board can be so easily intimidated, bullied, and tyrannized by actions of a dogmatizer. Mr. Veraco, shame on you for caving into this bigotry. You were supposed to protect your team. You were supposed to protect my child's freedom of speech without fear of reprisal, without fear of him expressing who he is. You lost my confidence, and all I need everyone to understand, this is not a mass mandate fight. These are civil rights violations. My son's freedom of speech will not be trampled by some board dogmatizer looking to pick yet another fight. I leave you with this, board members. Fight for my son's First Amendment rights. Fight for my son to be able to say and be happy of who he is. Fight that this immigrant Latina mother of a gay son doesn't waste any more of your hard-earned taxes.
Thank you.
My United Nations family is the new America, and we will not sit down.
Jada Jones.
Hi, my name is Jada Jones, 1507 Churchill Drive. And today I didn't come prepared with a speech because this is not my first time speaking about it. This will not be my last time either. And it is saddening to me that I have to speak about this. Black lives do matter. You see my life as a political organization. Why is that being tried? Why are LGBTQ plus flags being tried? Why is that a thing? Why do you have to do that? Like, people here, they want to express themselves. When I first walked into my teacher's rooms, Mr. Lee and Miss Neth, I saw pride flags, and I was happy to see that. It felt comforting to me. I met new people as well that are LGBTQ plus members, and they made me feel safe. As a Black person that goes to LC, I do not make majority of the school. I make up minority of that. When I walk into a classroom every day, I think to myself, am I the only Black person in this classroom? Sometimes I do feel unsafe. I have been said things to. People have said racial things to me, and that nothing has been done about that. I see Black Lives Matter. When I see somebody has a flag up, I feel safe. And I feel like that is a space that I can talk in, that I can feel comfortable in. And in the real world, what are you gonna do when you see a flag up? What will you do when you see that flag? Will the parent complain about that then? Can they complain to a multimillionaire company? Can they complain during Pride Month about that flag? What will you do then? At this school, it is hard to feel safe sometimes. So just seeing that small flag up there, it feels comforting to me. I, again, did not come up with a speech. Like I said before, this is not my first time. And that is so heartbreaking. Like, I saw my peers crying. I was crying myself. I could not stand for this. The fact that it's being tried to me is insane. And I just came up here to say that. That's it.
Thank you. Aiden from Curie Court.
Aiden Ace, 8372 Cary Court. Good evening, Lake Central board members and Dr. Varacco. My name is Aiden Ace. I'm a senior here at Lake Central High School. When I first heard about this threat of taking down anything not related to the curriculum of our own high school, my heart dropped. My first thought wasn't about me. It was about the people who express themselves in and out of the classroom. My mom has been a part of the LGBTQ community for as long as I can remember. With her being lesbian, she brought one of the best stepmoms I ever could imagine into my life. They, as two gay parents, raised me as well as any other parent in this world. Having specific views that others don't agree with doesn't make someone a bad teacher, bad parent, or a bad person. In the classroom, the teachers aren't using these things that could be quote-unquote distracting to teach the younger generations. The main reason these teachers have these types of things up in their classrooms is to make their students feel comfortable in the classroom. I've had Mr. Lee for 2 years, and he's never once brought up being gay in the classroom unless it was to tell his students a little bit about himself. Last year, I had Mrs. Wad. She was one of the best teachers I've ever had. She taught in a way that motivated people in so many ways. Miss Wad and Mr. Lee have preached just be yourself. Even if you think that it is wrong, or even if society tells you it's wrong, just be you. That is one of the most valuable lessons I've learned through school. Both these teachers set such a good example on how to teach this new generation. Creating an atmosphere where kids feel safe makes teaching so much more valuable and interesting. By not allowing teachers to express themselves through posters, pictures, flags, anything, we not only separate our school from creating a better atmosphere in the classroom, but we also violate the First Amendment rights of these teachers and students. So let's make changes to what classrooms look like. Let's make them better for everyone in this world, and most importantly, let's set future generations of kids and teachers up for success. And anybody, and I mean anybody in this world, look at the most influential person in my eyes. Pitbull once said, "Every day above ground is a great day." Remember that.
Jen Wilson. Jen Wilson.
I'm having my daughter read for me because she's much better at it, but we're from 1534 Mockingbird, Crown Point, Indiana.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight to give voice to the quiet majority who does not shout each other down, the ones whose moral courage comes from treating others as we would treat ourselves, the ones who remember what community is and how it strengthens us all. I stand before you as a product of our schools, as a parent and a former teacher. I did not learn about public education from cable news or from outrage postings on Facebook. I learned from the old-fashioned way, by personal experience and careful research, and by approaching questions with an open mind. Many of us in this room benefited from schools not afraid to offer well-rounded curriculums, schools where teachers could answer students' questions about the world around them without fear, schools that exposed us to ideas that we did not encounter in our homes. None of that made us turn against our own heritage and traditions. Instead, it helped us better navigate this complex world we live in. In calmer times, none of us would want less for our children. I'm so grateful for all of our public schools have to offer. LC has over 200 courses to choose from, options from AP and dual credit classes to trade and industrial courses. During COVID, LC did their best and offered in-person or online classes. Our teachers worked 2 jobs at the same time, and yet some people felt the need to sue our district, claiming they didn't listen to parents. The louder voices claiming to speak for a majority based this opinion on a survey that was given weeks before the school year started and was limited to parents with kids 12 and under. I did not get to vote, nor did many others. Their statement simply is not true. Now, some parents cite conspiracy theories and claim to be fighting the leftist agenda. They demand the removal of pride flags and want certain books pulled from the shelves because it is so offensive. So then I ask, if teachers have to remove everything political and religious from their rooms, then why do students recite the pledge every morning? And why must we remove pride flags for their offense when we haven't even changed our mascot and haven't entered the tradition of having a student dress up as an Indian in a headdress, which is something actually offensive to minorities? I'm asking this community to find our better selves. Let's trust each other and the professionals that work for our schools. We must talk about difficult topics or we will not progress as a society. We can teach our students to think critically, but when it comes to the values, identity, and character of our children, parents and teachers can try to shape them into the molds that we want, but at the end of the day, the choices, beliefs, and morals of our kids are entirely their own. There's a true majority out there with strong moral values. We do not shout and are not afraid of differences. We work hard, we build institutions, and then trust them to provide growth for all.
15 seconds.
Our public schools make us proud, resilient, and offer our kids the chance at an even better life than our own. To those of you who think America's angriest political battles should be fought in school boards, I want to ask, do you really think that makes our schools better? Thank you.
Thank you.
Jillian Schranz. Jillian Schranz. Oh.
Good evening. Jillian Schranz, 1004 Richmond Court, Dyer, Indiana. First, I'd like to say thank you to the administration and board, as I know the last couple of weeks haven't been easy. While I strongly disagree with the administration's new directive, there's no denying the consideration and time that was put into it. My primary objection to the new directive is that it's an overreaction to the complaints of a minority group and a broad strokes policy that doesn't differentiate between a teacher's expression of political opinion, which is clearly not allowed in public classrooms, and visual representations of the diverse identities that make up our student body. If the poster in question from September 19th was found to be political because the wording expressed an opinion, we believe, then the scope of the administration's response should have been limited to posters that clearly represent an opinion. But instead of stopping there, the directive removes all symbols reflecting the identities of our LGBTQIA+ students. I object to the administration deferring to the anti-gay minority and allowing them to determine for our whole community what's political. I want to be very clear. Our students' identities are not inherently political. Inclusive displays such as pride flags or statements of support for secular human rights, which reflect the identities that make up our school population, are not political. It's the parents in the community who are playing politics, and it's my kids and our kids that are caught in the middle. As support for this decision, the administration is citing Mayor v. Monroe, which is specific to teachers verbally communicating their opinions to students on topics during class time. That's not what representations of identity do. And a recent case in Oregon that was decided last month, in which the Newburgh School Board put a policy in place restricting political and controversial displays in classrooms, was struck down successfully by the ACLU due to their state's Bill of Rights, which is nearly identical to Article 1, Section 9 of the Indiana State Constitution. The problem with Lake Central's sweeping ban on all LGBTQ posters and flags is that it's not based on what's best for our students. The 2019 National School Climate Survey found that LGBTQIA students who could identify supportive staff through things like posters and safe space stickers were less likely to miss school, had higher GPAs, and were less likely to say they might not graduate high school. In summary, they had better academic outcomes. Isn't that what we want for all of our students? I'd ask the board and administration to revise this new policy and to limit the definition of political to materials that clearly communicate a teacher's opinion or bias, and not simply restrict all posters, flags, and decor that reflect the diverse identities of our student population here at Lake Central.
Thank you. Kathy Konecki.
evening. Kathy Konecki, 11448 Valley Court, St. John, Indiana.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Konecki, and this is my second board meeting. My first is when my daughter received the perfect score on Word Masters in 3rd grade. I'm a resident of St. John, a wife to a lifelong educator and football coach, a public education 8th grade history teacher, and a proud Lake Central parent of 3 children who attend Watson, Grimmer, and Lake Central High School. Our children are involved in multiple things: theater, sports, clubs, and band through the school district, and we enjoy supporting all students in their extracurricular activities. I wanted to speak tonight so that I could do something I'm sure not too many people would want to do. I want to apologize. I want to apologize to the Board of Education, the administrators, the teachers, and the students of the Lake Central School District. My apology comes because for 2 years, I have watched school board meetings. I have talked to teachers, students, and administrators, and I have told them how thankful we are for their job well done. But I never spoke out. I have sent emails and joined text change, but I have never come here. I'm embarrassed because I care about our district, yet my absence speaks volumes. The truth is, I was ashamed of the parents and the community members who have dominated the board meetings with their rants, misinformation, disparaging remarks, and awful behavior towards the school board, administration, and teachers. I was so ashamed that I did not want to be associated with them by being in the same room. Instead, I talked privately with district employees, friends, and community members, where I found that the parents who were the loudest were in fact not the people who should be representing our community. They are in fact a minority of the district population. It was not until my daughter came home distraught this past week that I finally decided I'd had enough. I'm done letting other people speak for me. I'm done letting others dictate school policy and atmosphere based on fear and uneducated assumptions. I realized that as an educator and parent, I had a duty to speak out and speak for the people who have been degraded for long enough. We hear from these loud community members all about what they are against. They are against mass, inclusion, social and emotional well-being, accurate teaching of history, and equal representation for minority students and staff. It is almost like they hate public education.
15 seconds.
I'm done hearing what these people hate about public education. I want to shift the focus to what is great about public education: the inclusion of all students, the critical thinking, the social and emotional well-being of every student, and the teachers, staff, and administration and board members who go above and beyond for every student to feel welcomed, cared about, and valued.
Thank you. Indian Pauletta.
My name is Indian Pauletta, and I live at 9818 Forest Street, Dyer, Indiana.
Thank you.
And I come tonight to speak to you guys, not as a member of the LGBTQ community, but as a straight ally. You know, all of my closest friends, like a lot of them, I think, they're all, I think a lot of them are part of the LGBTQ community. And, you know, I could see the way that they feel represented by all these flags that are in like Mr. Lee's room or like Wad's room. And that's beautiful. Like straight up, that's beautiful. And I love that. Because as like a proud Mexican man, I know what it's like to be proud of who you are. And like, that's how I feel when I see the Mexican flags up in like Mr. Perez's room or whatever, because that's awesome, you know, and we need more of that. And the fact that that has been eliminated, like because of outdated and irrelevant laws hidden somewhere in some old document in Indiana, like that's not what's best for the students. And you guys as the board need to decide what is best for the Lake Central population. And this is not it, straight up. That's not it. And so I humbly ask you, as just me, as just Indian Pauletta, for you all to go back and to think about your decision. You know, like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not, nothing against you guys. But, you know, read the room. And so the majority has spoken, and I have spoken, and the night's coming to a close. You know, and I just got to say, you know, I feel like the community showing out tonight has been wonderful, you know, and I appreciate everything everybody has had to say. And I'm genuinely shocked. It's because, like, the school board meetings in the past, like, I've watched them. They're not pretty. You know, and I watch these, and I feel disheartened. It's because this is my school. As a student here, this is my life. I come here at 7 in the morning, like half asleep, and I spend the whole day here. And, you know, I want to feel comfortable in this environment. And I want to feel like the government of this environment has my best interests in mind. And with this past decision, I don't feel that way. And, you know, like, I believe that we, as a student body, I believe we, like, together as a school, with administrators and, of course, you guys, at the top of it all, I think we could all move on from this. I think we'd all learn from it. I think we could all learn to make better policy decisions and work for a better future together. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Bridgman.
Hello.
Hi.
Lauren Bridgman. I am a Clark Middle School teacher, and I'm here on behalf of LCTA, which is the Lake Central Teachers Association tonight.
Thank you.
With a message for Lake Central students. So teachers decorate their classrooms to share a little piece of themselves with you. That sharing is a way to start a conversation, to find and foster human connection points, to create a community. Cubs or Sox, obviously Cubs, my students know. IU or Purdue. Posters, quotes, and artwork are also ways to share stories of successes and struggles, triumph and tragedy, as well as interesting facts and compelling ideas. The messages communicated on classroom walls and bulletin boards simply remind us that we are all human, sharing a space, time, and place together in a moment, no matter how different we are. You, our students, are part of those connections and those moments. Students, we are here for you. We support you, we see you, you are amazing, and you belong, despite the messages you are hearing from a very small percentage in this community. This tiny portion of our community wants to see classroom messages judged and removed. Even if they get their way, you are worth much more than a poster or picture could ever say. You always have been. They may take the sayings and messages from the walls and halls, but they cannot take how we, the teachers and staff, see you. With every wave in the hallway, every greeting, every fist bump, you will know that we are here. Here for you, here to help you and nurture your becoming. We are in this with you. When it comes to creating a supportive environment in school, we are your biggest advocates, and no one, not even a few, can take away your worth or time by restricting and rejecting sayings, quotes, and pictures on our 4 classroom walls. A challenge for our students and our community. When divisive issues like this pop up, it is our responsibility to ask ourselves the question of who. Who benefits from removing the ideas, posters, artwork, and quotes? Who benefits from controlling the exchange of ideas in a classroom and perpetrating the notion that students somehow don't have the capacity to critically think or process various viewpoints? Who benefits from using this community's classroom as a place to gain control by inventing a purposely divisive, emotionally charged, and galvanizing issue to incite and activate others? Another question is, why are they acting so defensive and so afraid, even if it means marginalizing those in their path, including you, our students, our staff, and our community members? As I stand here tonight talking to you all, it has never been more evident that inclusion is what's at stake. No matter a student's race, sexuality, or gender, we will never allow one student to feel marginalized, left out, or unsupported, because as teachers, it is our mission to make every student feel valued and heard. And we will continue to do that as teachers in this corporation,
15
regardless
seconds.
of what unjust demands may come our way. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim True. Tim True. Kate Pershawn.
Hello, good evening. My name is Kate Pershawn. I'm at 8694 Tapper Street in St. John.
Thank you.
I'm a Lake Central graduate and parent. I would like to start by thanking the teachers in this district who often at their own personal and professional cost, in any way they can, they continue to make it clear to all of our kids that they are loved and welcomed in their classrooms. So thank you. I'm not only standing here for my children, I'm here for all Lake Central kids, all of them. Our school corporation is composed of Black and brown children, gay, lesbian, transgender, and questioning children, Muslim, Sikh, and Buddhist children, immigrated and undocumented children, children with physical, mental, and social challenges. Many, many people in our community, including me, love, respect, care about, and protect them. We expect the same from their school district. My kids have been fortunate here. They have not been discriminated against. They have not been harassed, judged, or excluded, but if they were, I would want them to know where they were safe and with whom they were safe, especially at their own school. I would want them to immediately know who they could trust. Safe, inclusive signage is everywhere in the community, including school districts across the country and here in Indiana. They are desperately welcomed by all people who do not fit into a cultural box in their environment. A child who sees these symbols feels that they can be themselves in that space. They can relax, and they are free to learn in that space as themselves. Every child deserves this. And the key word here is learn. These signs are not detracting kids from learning, and actually, I feel it's the opposite. I feel they're encouraging all kids to learn. I am here to show that not everyone in our school community feels the same way about the inclusive signage that caused such a terrible stir at the last school board meeting. These signs in question, along with others, were prematurely removed from the classrooms and challenged by someone who did not bother to educate themselves about how prevalent and forward-thinking inclusive, safe signage is in our communities, especially among our young people and our young social cultures. Our kids are more diverse than we give them credit for, and even if your child was not represented on that sign, I can guarantee that most of our kids love and care about other students who are. They are classmates, teammates, coworkers, and friends. The message we send by taking these signs away is that not everyone is welcome in our school and our community. This is the message that will emanate from Lake Central and discourage new families from coming here. I wish Lake Central was more forward-thinking to do this. The same as other school districts, Perry Township, Washington Township, Muncie, Franklin, Fort Wayne, who proudly boast diverse, inclusive statements on their district sites. This is not a political issue or a religious issue. This is a human rights issue, and human rights are for all people in a public school in a democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Louise Talent.
Thank you very much for being here this evening. My name is Louise Talent, 2723 Sycamore Drive, Dyer, Indiana. My words are simple. Students are the most valuable resource on the planet, and I know very much how hard you all work, how hard the custodians work, how hard our bus drivers work, how hard our food service individuals and employees work. And each one of you on this board, our administrative office, at central office, every single one of you, I know how hard people in this district work and how they are very dedicated to the most valuable resource we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Dubish.
Hello, Laura Dubish, St. John, Indiana. Parent, as you all know. Can you hear me? I think I have to make it higher.
Just tilt it up.
How's that? Better? Okay, well, first, I would like to thank Dr. Veracco for addressing the concerns of so many, many parents recently, as well as following Indiana law. This is not something that the parents are dictating, any portion of the parents. This is Indiana law. Well, Dr. Veracco referenced the law from Todd Rokita, Attorney General. So you can look at it. Yes, they did not follow the law on that, but that's not why I'm here. So I wanted to thank you for that. It's progress. On a separate topic, I'd like to address something important. I think everyone likes to have the truth so they can draw conclusions accordingly. At least I would hope this to be the case. There seems to be a big disconnect in the interpretations of what occurred regarding LC's mask decision in August 21. And it's relevant because of some Facebook activity.
Let her talk, please.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
let's not shout out and try to drown out
And
the
give me
speaker.
my
Stop
time
the clock
back,
for a
too.
second, Terry.
Please.
Everybody was quiet up until this point, and you may not agree with what the speaker's saying, but let's respect and be quiet until it's done. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's interesting which side is the bullies. It really is. Our side was quiet. So there's a disconnect here. So everything I'm about to say, I have the documents and proof. The mask issue was resolved on August 2nd meeting and voted unanimously 5-0 to return to school mask optional. I have your own board meeting minutes here. Whoever wants a copy, come see me, message me, and I'm happy to give the board a copy. So I have the attached minutes. I also have an August 3rd email correspondence between Superintendent Veracco and board members. It states there is no misunderstanding, mask optional return to school. I have that email here as well. My purpose is not to rehash all of this. My purpose is the truth is important. I think the teachers wanted the truth. I think parents on both sides wanted the truth. Everybody wants the truth. As for the county level, it was yellow on August 2nd, and it was yellow on August 6th. And it was yellow for 4 weeks more. I have the county data sheets right here as well to prove it. So there was no need at all for an emergency meeting that disallowed public comment. You were advised that it would turn orange any day, but that source was never verified, which turned out not to be credible. There was no difference in data of mask optional schools, and now that we have all the data is easily accessible, than there was from mask mandated schools. You were emailed the comparison using school-specific data for the height of the biggest COVID case wave on February 3rd of 22 between Crown Point and LCSC. There was
15 seconds.
There was virtually no difference. LC had 6% more cases, but also exactly 6% higher population. I have that data as well. I sincerely hope that moving forward, board members will not just be receptive and seek the truth, but will analyze the data given to them by concerned parents and base their decisions on it.
Thank you.
Okay, can I please have permission
Lena
to read one closing
Mueller.
statement?
Lena?
Okay.
Lena Miller? Luna Miller? Am I saying it right? Lena, sorry.
I get to follow that, so that's great. Leno Miller, 9695 Genevieve Drive. I wrote something, but I'll keep this really short. The kids have done well enough representing themselves here tonight. The only thing I'd like to discuss is at the last board meeting when this was all brought up, there was one individual that was called out by name for comment. We all know why we're here. We're here because there's an election in 3 weeks and no other reason. These signs have been up in classrooms for years. They didn't care, it wasn't addressed where the sign originated from, whose classroom it was in. The only comment they wanted was from one board member who was up for re-election. We all know why we're here. So I'll leave it at that. The real reason that I came up here tonight was just to say something to these kids. We will protect you, not from nonsense like a poster, not from yourselves because you are amazing, but from bullies. Not just narrow-minded peers that walk these halls, but from shameful bigots who walk around with a mouthful of scripture and a heart full of hate that wish to erase you. So to these kids, just know they can take down flags, they can try to push you back in the closet, but please, just know and remember, we see you, you are loved, and we got your back.
Teresa Ai. Teresa Ai, okay, gone. Sherry True.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Rocco, I'd like to thank you very much for actually looking into my request of figuring out if the poster was inappropriate or not, and I appreciate that you taking action against it. For probably over 2 years now, I've emailed the board with no responses. I've sent you several emails, and I've never ever got a response except from you, Dr. Rocco, after I've asked you for a follow-up, and I appreciate that. So when everyone says that our voices are heard in this district, it's not a comforting fact when I send emails to the board and I never get a response. And so when people say this isn't the right place to bring something up in a public forum, well, it is, because you have not addressed my concerns privately over the years that I have brought them to you. And so if you are not going to address my concerns as a parent and as a taxpayer, I understand that there's different sides of issues, but it doesn't mean that I don't have the right to come here and express my opinion. And I'd just like to end with, this is the Parents' Bill of Rights. You have the right and expectation to question and address your child's school officials via letter, electronic communications, in-person meetings. You have the right to attend public designated meetings with proper notice and meetings provided. You have the right and expectation to question and review curriculum taught in your child's school by questioning your local school board and administrators during public comment periods of publicly designated meetings. You have the right and expectation that the academic curriculum taught in your child's school aligns with Indiana and federal law. You have the right and expectation to participate in the selection and approval of academic standards of the state of Indiana. You have the right and expectation to access educational materials and curriculum taught to your child in the classroom. You have the right as a candidate to run for your local school board. You have the right to make decisions regarding vaccinations and ammunitions for your child. You have the right and expectation to make medical decisions on the behalf of your child. You have the right and expectation to receive your child's student health records. And you have the right to receive special education services on behalf of your child with a disability. So I would just like to say that these rights are given to us by the law in Indiana. And I appreciate that you guys are following them now, and I hope that we can have open dialogue more, and I hope when I email you in the future that we can discuss these things and we can get them resolved in a timely and appropriate manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela Spencer.
Angela Spencer, 9475 Genevieve Drive, St. John, Indiana. I think I want to thank everybody for coming today, because these kids really put a lot of thought into their speeches tonight, and I can definitely appreciate that coming from a mom that's a junior that has friends in my backyard that are every nationality and every gender. We're not here to dispute them. Not in any way, shape, or form. What we've always wanted from this board is to come together for agreements. We've never gotten that. When the masks came out, we actually attended a meeting and we were shut down. There was no open dialogue. There wasn't any honest conversations. Points were not being heard. That's not what LC should be about. We should be listening to these kids. We should be listening to the other kids. We should be coming together, unified as a district. We're the 4th largest district in the state of Indiana. and this is what we have. I mean, Dr. Veraco, this is what you are developing right now. You are developing a decisive room where it's one side versus the other, and that's not what we are about. We're not about that. We need to come together. I get that we should be able to love who we want to love. We should be able, but that's also, in the same token, there has to be a line drawn. When these kids go into class, it needs to be about the education. Right now, I'm looking at the Department of Education. Right now, our core 40, we're below state average. Right now, honors, graduating, we are below state and we are below other schools like ours. SAT scores, we're not even there. ACT scores, we're getting our butts kicked by Crown Point. So what can we do? What can we do to come together and make it a safe environment for all students, every single one? I don't want to see this girl crying because she was getting bullied and the administration did nothing about it. So what can we do to come together as an agreement to get back to the academics, to get our kids graduating with honors? What is your action plan going to be? But the flag is not defining you. You and the relationships. Hold on.
All right, this is
and the
downtown hall, please.
relationships that you develop defines you. A flag does not
if you
define
please address
you.
the board, please.
15 seconds.
Well, I'm just saying, the characters, like their relationships that they develop in the classroom, that's what defines a person. A group doesn't define a person. BLM doesn't define a person. You define yourself. And the relationships that you create,
It's time.
you
Thank you.
define yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Ramos?
Good evening. Melissa Ramos. My pronouns are she, her. I reside at 1746 Burgundy Street in Cherville, Indiana.
Thank you.
I'm the parent of a 7th grade grammar student, my third and youngest to go through the Lake Central system. I have co-authored and facilitated a number of diversity and inclusion training sessions for faculty, staff, and students throughout the Purdue system where I work. This fall, I spoke on the phone with Terry Mucha and asked if the district offers or requires diversity and inclusion training for anyone. And I was told the program had been put on hold since the pandemic. I've also heard nothing since. At this time, I'd like to publicly reiterate the offer I made to Ms. Mucha during that call. I offer my time and knowledge in this area on a volunteer basis to revive a diversity and inclusion framework offering to all of Lake Central, because clearly it's lacking. Earlier today after school, my Latinx transgendered child told me about a minimum of 8 to 10 individual peers who had bullied him in the course of one school day. Today. This happens on a regular basis. The data is clear. LGBTQ kids are depressed, they are self-harming, they are suicidal at a significantly higher rate than their straight peers. Removing the affirming symbols that make a public school a safe space for these guys is the same as bullying, and it's enabling further bullying. Protected classes, now we're going to talk about federal law. Protected classes are things like race, religion, family status, ability status. What I'm talking about today, sex and gender, gender identity, gender expression, is a protected class in itself. These flags are not a political statement, and as the parent who complained would have the school board believe. They ensure diversity and inclusion, a sense of belonging. Diversity is a reality, not an issue to be debated. LGBTQ people are protected by federal statute. But more than that, we are failing our children if we're not encouraging them to actively include all people, aren't we? If you feel otherwise, if you think I'm wrong, then perhaps public education is not the best choice for you.
15 seconds.
Because at the public schools, civil rights, my child and everyone's child's civil rights supersede any of your ideology. Put the flags back up. Do better, Elsie.
Thank you. Robert Starkey.
I'm going to be a bit of a wet blanket here in that I don't have anything to talk about this topic that everybody's so passionate about. So I don't expect any applause. I wanted to give a brief update on what the town of Dyer is doing. Robert Starkey, 509 Northgate, Dyer Town Council President. I'd like to acknowledge Alan Brooks and Alicia Myers in here. Thank you guys for coming out. Let's see here. I have 4 quick topics. I'll go with the schools that we have in Dyer. For Bibbich, the southwest corner of the intersection at Hart and 81st has been a hazard for years. For school buses and drivers, Dyer has partnered with Lake County to purchase an easement. We worked with NIPSCO and Comcast to move the utilities so we could widen that intersection. If you guys have been down there, you'll see it's some new work down there. Makes it much safer for the school buses to go by. In 2024, 2025, we have a plan to add a lane down 81st on the north side of it to help with traffic coming out of Bibbich. So that's what we've got going on at Bibbich. Protzman, we are currently completing some repaving work on Jackson and 211th. These streets are behind Protzman, outside of door L. Oftentimes that's used as a rear exit for the children to just go into the community. So what we're doing is we put some new ADA ramps on there. We're marking the entire area, making it no parking, putting up some pedestrian signs just to make that area on the town side safer for the kids to exit into the community. Dyer Parks will be partnering with the Protzman HSA in their efforts to swap out the mulch for a pour-and-play surface. Our goal is to have the Dyer Parks Department purchase that in bulk to lower the rate for everyone. So we'd like to do that for Protzman. At Kaler, anybody who's driving down 30 right now knows what a pain the construction is. We are working with the state on an NDOT project to install brand new ADA crossings in front of Kaler. Again, the traffic's awful, but once it's done, that'll be good. A future note, I was up there, I haven't seen any of the council members for any of the other communities in here. And so again, that's why I thank Alan and Alicia for being here. Next up, after what I'm assuming will be more comments, you have a future items section. I think maybe at some point, adding a bullet point, not every month, maybe not every quarterly, but at some point to have the municipal leaders come in here and talk about how we can be better partners with the school district and how the school district can help the communities. So that's my version of an update of what Dyer is doing for the schools in Dyer. On a personal note,
15 seconds.
Oh, I'll beat like 20, but I'll talk fast. On a personal note, new 3 minutes. On a personal note, you guys have been listening to this. Pick up your pencils. I've got a couple names. I have a first grader in Protzman, and I want each of you to acknowledge Miss Mull, Miss Morales, Miss Jao, Miss Kessler, the administrators. Where's Brenda Spita?
It's still time.
Thank you.
They're making the
Thank
difference.
you.
Thank you.
Dante Gramolian. Yeah, almost. One more.
Dante Gerelman, resident of St. John. If we haven't learned over the past 3 years to not take blanket statements such as trust the science or we are doing what the National Board of Education and or county health commissioners telling us mentality, Board members, educators, politicians, and the like are going to have to do some serious soul searching for what they allowed to happen over these past few years. I say never again. The issue of political and religious speech is a complex issue that includes the school board's decision to mandate masks. We say this and we talk about how do we ever think that a piece of cloth would divide people. It did. Science is proving that masks were not working, and we're learning from that. We've heard trust to science over decades, and it proves to be wrong over time. So I hear students here that are politically engaged, and I celebrate that they have the right to do that. And I encourage the teachers that got all of these students here to encourage these guys to contact their local politicians. I want to commend the board for talking with legal, doing what is right, according to your fiduciary responsibility in doing that. But that being said, for these students here that are outraged, talk to their parents, talk to those that can vote, and make a difference with your politicians. That being said, it only turned a mask into a quasi-religious de facto political symbol that sends a message along the lines of, I believe kindness is everything, or I believe in safety above all else. For those who do not believe that kindness and safety are virtues above all else, being forced to wear a mask is no different than asking an atheist if we were forced to wear a cross. When the people on the school board finally realize this, things have to change. And so as I look at this, you look at school boards around the country. To remove a book like To Kill a Mockingbird, which depicts racism and bigotry and the harm of perverting the foundational belief that all men are created equal before the bar of justice, and the consequences of doing what right and living proud of that, you are allowing the grooming of children in some of these libraries across the country. Whether you want to say that or not, these are facts that really do exist. And so your fiduciary responsibility is to allow my child to come in and to learn math, to learn reading, writing, to learn the gift of critical thought. And all that being aside, differences apart, whatever we want to say of these political organizations, BLM, LGBTQI, inclusivity, diversity, is they are politically motivated. And so the job of the board here is to glean, discern, and understand decisions that require critical thought, and how do we come together as having different political opinions and ideologies and doing what's right by the students. Students, if you want to do something, contact your legislators.
Thank you. Vanessa Welty.
Hello, Vanessa Welty, 8888 Hanley Court, Crown Point. First, I would like to speak directly to any LGBTQ students in attendance. I just want you to know that you are seen and supported. There have always been people like you, and there will always be people like you. You are fortunate in the fact that you are growing up at a time of rapid change. Our society is putting in place legal protections for you, most notably the Supreme Court decision, Obergefell v. Hodges, which made same-sex marriage the law of the land. I know I don't have to tell you that discrimination that still exists, but I have seen a seismic shift in a positive direction since I was a child. Stay strong, live your truth, and be happy. You will find your tribe if you haven't already. Next, I would like to speak directly to any LGBTQ teachers or staff in attendance. I just want you to know that I trust you to teach and work with my children. Thank you for choosing a profession that can often be undervalued. Nobody goes into teaching to get rich. They do it out of love for learning and a love for kids. I know most parents are grateful for the essential work you do every day. I have 3 sons who have been educated within the Lake Central School Corporation, from kindergarten at Pfeiffer through high school in this very building. I am confident they have acquired the skills, character, and temperament necessary to live happy, productive lives. My husband and I have worked hard to make that happen, but so did many LC staff members, and I want to recognize that. Finally, I would like to speak directly to the board and Dr. Veracco. I'm very disappointed that teachers and staff are being forced to remove rainbow flags.
They are non-invasive, they are a non-invasive message to a group of people who had been historically marginalized. And I personally find it laughable that anyone would find Roy G. Biv offensive. But I also realize that you are being forced into a no-win situation. If you were to allow the flags to stay, you're probably exposing yourselves and the district to yet another round of frivolous lawsuits, which would waste even more taxpayer resources. I'd like to let you know that this topic is personal for me. Growing up, my favorite Uncle Erwin was openly gay. When you have someone who you love in your life who is gay, it is extremely difficult to watch them be on the receiving end of hateful, homophobic behavior. Uncle Erwin was kind, generous, successful, and brilliant, but none of these qualities or accomplishments could shield him from the intolerance in others. And this has instilled in me a great deal of empathy with the LGBTQ community, an empathy I see
15 seconds.
sorely lacking in other folks, even today. They can make you take down some of these flags, but they're not going to push you back in the closet.
Jennifer Prather.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Prather, and I live at 4919 Heron Drive in Cherville.
Thank you.
I am specifically talking about the poster that was mentioned at the last board meeting. And I will be following somewhat closely a script. I believe that one weakness of the poster is that it shuts down Socratic discussion and critical thinking. It declares we believe by not allowing each student to choose which of these statements he or she agrees or doesn't agree with. It promotes collectivism rather than individualism. The second weakness of this poster is that it is vague in an attempt to gain universal support while maintaining that students, maintain student ignorance of the true nature of these ideologies. So this one specific one is the Black Lives Matter. This poster combines the raised fist along with the slogan, Black Lives Matter. The raised slogan has a sordid history and is connected to communism and Marxism. And I do have the documentation, the articles that support this. And I'd like to go off of one article that said how one woman's yard sign can become a rallying cry for allies. And the first point is the story behind a simple list of beliefs that turned into the most enduring symbol of anti-Trump resistance. So this version of the original did originate and was birthed the day after Donald Trump was made President of the United States. And according to this article, as a political creed, it is more bold and memorable than anything the Democratic Party has come up with in the last 4 years. And although this poster states in this classroom, originally it did state
15 seconds.
In this home, we believe. And so I do believe that if you want to see the article, you can, but it is a political creed, and therefore the poster should be removed.
It's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Kovacevic.
Thank you. My name is Mike Mile Kovacevic. I'm a first-generation American citizen. My parents legally moved here from a communist country, and I'm watching America go down in fire. Okay? My parents taught me about communism, socialism, Marxist. Everyone who came up to this microphone doesn't know a clue about Marxism until they come up or experience it themselves. Now, for this sign that was in a poster, I was quiet. For all you guys, I expect the same respect for me. Taxes pay for school. You don't send your children to come here to express themselves. You send your children to school to learn an education so they can be functioning adults in society, so they don't need a pillow or a safe space to cry if someone picks or says, we don't like how you did your report, go, and you're going to cry in a corner. So first, okay, science, well, you guys said science isn't real. You didn't believe masks. I provided documented proof from legal 3M Corporation that masks do not stop viruses. Okay, so there's your science isn't real. BLM, it's a Marxist ideology. All of you on the board should be ashamed of yourselves because all 3 members, founders of BLM, have openly expressed they are Marxist organizers. How come you haven't seen the videos? You guys are in charge of our children's education, and you are the most uninformed people I've ever seen in this area, okay? So BLM, okay, so to say Black Lives Matter, what about Serbian Lives Matter? I don't see a Serbian month, and Nikola Tesla provided everything here. Where's the Serbian Lives Matter, or where's the Serbian Lives Month, okay?
I know. We're not yelling.
Racism in America. There's no racism in America. How do I know? Because I'm a first-generation immigrant son, and I have to watch news how a black person in Chicago has to put bleach and wear a red hat so they can stage and say that all Republicans and conservatives are racist. That's BS, okay? We proved that there's no racism. Okay, when you guys say love is all love, that means you're supporting pedophilia. If you are unformed, pedophilia uses a slogan called love is love, and now they are trying to push minor attracted persons. If you're unfamiliar with this term, as leaders of our education, I expect you to look it up. I was quiet, please respect me. I'll be done very shortly. When you guys say feminism is for everybody, the feminist movement pushed abortions that killed black babies all across this country. Why is there a Planned Parenthood in every black neighborhood? Okay, the doctor who wrote the book, Aborting America. Okay, fine. Well, what about the time them booing me? No one can hear me, ma'am. Cindy.
15 seconds.
The physician who pushed for abortion wrote a book called Aborting America. Are you serious?
Let's let him have his 15 seconds.
You still have 10 seconds.
15 seconds. 10.
The doctor who pushed the abortions under Roe versus Wade, his name is Dr. Bernard Nathanson. You can try to find his book, but I guarantee you it's going to cost you, it cost me over $200. It's called Aborting America, written in 1979. He said he was wrong, and he's the one who pushed it.
Thank you.
So it's time.
Amy Berry.
My name's Amy Berry. I live in St. John. Can you hear me? My name's Amy Berry. I live in St. John. That's a tough act to follow. Actually, everybody is a really tough act to follow. I thought the students did a really great job. Thank you. As you could tell from my shirt, I am an ally, so I do disagree with the decision that's been made to remove posters. However, I also agree that you're in a tough spot because of the laws, and that's really evident by what has been shared, so I think I know how this is going to end. But I would just encourage anybody who's in this room, especially seniors who might be 18, there is an election coming up, and everybody needs to vote. And I'm not just talking about there's only one person on the board that's up for re-election, and I don't know how she feels, so it's not even against you or for you, but I'm just saying in general, the only way that we're going to change the laws in this state is to vote. So that's for everybody in the audience to vote, vote, vote. And really, thank you for your time. And I know this isn't an easy position. There's been a lot over the last few years, especially with COVID, so appreciate your time. But yeah, everybody did great tonight. So
So with that, we'll move on to board comments and consideration of future agenda items. Dr. Malkow, we'll start with you.
Well, I would agree with the last speaker. It was good to hear the comments. It's frustrating, as you know, to not be able to fix it so everybody's happy, but that's the way the world is today. And I thank you young students for coming out and expressing your views. I think that's really good. And that's what happens when we give students the opportunity to be strong individuals and we guide them. And I know some of that guidance has happened at school and it happens at home and it happens with your friends. So thanks for grabbing that opportunity. A very, very, very special date is November 5th. That's a Saturday morning. That's when the Education Foundation is doing a walk in support of our heroes. Did you? Oh, it's a walk or a run. I thought she was telling me time. I was going to say, Terry. I was going to get mad about that one. Okay, so November 5th is at Lake Central High School, and it is honor of our heroes. Now, the hero that we started this with last year is Dana Less. She was a student at Bibbage. Kaler graduated from Lake Central, pharmacy student at Purdue. She's one of the two gals that was basically gunned down when she was at the hospital doing her pharmacy internship at a hospital on the south side of Chicago. So from that love that we have for Dana, and she loved running, that's why this all happened, the run to honor Dana, but now we're expanding it into any heroes. So if your grandfather was in the military and you want to honor him, come, bring him. Or you can just walk and do it in memory of him or in honor of him. So think really deep, think about your heroes. It might be teachers. After what I've heard tonight, it might be teachers. So again, reach out. It's not an expensive walk, run, but it is the morning of November 5th. That's a Saturday. And I believe the next day is the fall back day, so you have an extra hour to rest, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Medlin.
First of all, I'd like to thank just about everyone who spoke tonight. It has really impacted me and my thoughts. I did prepare some thoughts for the evening. I will keep them very short. Personally, I was extremely upset at the last board meeting when a parent took issue with inclusive signing promoting kindness that was posted by a teacher. Dr. Veracco responded by saying that Black Lives Matter, and Nicole Kelly said that she believes that kindness is everything. That made me happy. However, I was not elected to this board to push my personal feelings. I was elected to work with the board as we are a voice of 5, not 1, and to keep an open mind, which I'm certainly keeping my mind open tonight as well, with the best interests of students at the forefront always. Therefore, I had to listen to what Dr. Veracco said during tonight's meeting and consider it, as well as the advice of our lawyers. Many of you have rightly argued posting Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ rainbow flags is not engaging in politics, but instead welcoming everyone to class. I personally agree with you. Unfortunately, Indiana courts have a record of not agreeing. Dr. Veracco, the administration, board, staff, and teachers across the corporation want every student to feel welcome. That's the best reason for Lake Central to develop its own messaging. We can be created and united in this effort to promote caring and kindness through Lake Central posters. We will not let hate rule our school. Love and inclusivity will prevail.
Thank you. Mrs. Kelly?
I have a few things to say. First and foremost, I want to commend the students who were courageous enough and brave enough to come out here and speak. It's not easy to get in front of a crowd and speak. The next thing I'd like to say is we want all of our kids to feel included, safe, and respected.
Could you speak up? We can't hear you.
You can't? I can't move it any faster or any closer. Thank you. So anyways, to recap, want to commend the students that were brave enough to come out here and speak. Not an easy thing to do. We want all of our students to feel included, safe, and respected in our schools and in our community. It is my hope that all staff and students will continue to support each other in the absence of flags and posters in the classrooms. It is unfortunate that a group launched a campaign against this type of acceptance, but it is what it is, and we have to follow the statutes and the guidelines that the states give us. With that being said, I would like to make a suggestion to our teachers, specifically our art teachers, to possibly add a poster project to your class. I was quiet while everybody else spoke. Please give me the same respect. Back to what I was saying. Let's try to come up with a symbol that doesn't have any political or religious connotations to it, that will promote inclusivity, and something that when our students enter a room, they see it and they know they have a safe place, a safe teacher to talk to, and they are accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall. Your turn.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Can everyone hear me? I have to stretch out on this microphone. It's got a very short cord. I'd like to reiterate a lot of what my fellow board members have mentioned. The one important aspect of the evening that really has hit home to me is the sense of pride. A pride in hearing a lot of the speakers tonight because they resonate with my personal beliefs. What we have to finally realize and come to some conclusion as a school board is, do we emphasize personal beliefs or do we follow case law? Legislators, our esteemed Attorney General, who I find myself disagreeing with more and more each day on some of his pronouncements, or do we just continue to go the direction that we're going? I appreciate the comments that have been made this evening. I think they're important, and you've just reinforced my sense of pride in all of you. Thank you for coming out. Thank you.
And I have to agree with my fellow board members, and I appreciate every single one of you coming out tonight, and to you parents, you're raising great humans, so thank you. And with that, we'll turn it over to Dr. Veracco for board calendar and future activities.
Thank you. Our next meeting is the eve of the election, November 7th. We'll be back here that night. Thanks.
All right, do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Second.